Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan. Holy smokes, he made that catch. I was like, we're going to go win this freaking game.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, I just tweeted this a few minutes ago, so bear with me as I kind of repeat it on the air. Mike Elko is not a splashy hire, but he is the right hire. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. He's our Heisman Trophy voter. He's my buddy. He's our columnist extraordinaire. I'm David Nuño. OB, he's not a splashy hire. He's the right hire, and we're going to go into specifics. But I want to just present the information out there. Pick a school, and let's talk about their coach, okay? Oregon, Dan Lanning. Splashy hire or not splashy?
He would be a splashy hire.
No. When they took him.
When they took him, there was a certain amount of splash, but it wasn't the cannonball splash.
Okay, when I think of splashy hire, I think Ryan Day.
Right,
I think
okay.
Brian
You
Kelly.
want the huge name.
A name, okay? Lincoln Riley, splashy hire?
It was a splashy hire.
Okay, at USC.
Yeah.
Is it working out at USC? TBD?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, TBD.
But not a good year. 7-5 is not what they got him for, right? Okay. Let's just go around. Miami getting Cristobal. It's kind of a splashy name.
He's all, yes, the name. There was more name than game. There.
TBD, right? It's
Absolutely
not really, I don't think
TBD.
they're doing what they expected. Mike Norvell, splashy hire?
To a certain degree. It wasn't, he'd had some success at Memphis, but I don't know how splashy it ever is when you go from the group of five, right?
100%.
As splashy as a group of five hire would be.
But when I think of splashy, I think like the common fan who doesn't really ingest college football the way we do. I think like my wife knows the name Brian Kelly,
right?
right?
If you go there.
Sark, splashy hire or not?
I think it was splashy.
But splashy in the same way as...
I think it was splashy because what that offense at Alabama was in 2020.
But also their third choice, right? Didn't they want Nick Saban first, Urban Meyer second? And look, everybody gets that. That happens. A&M might have had a list, and Elko was number 1B or 1C on that list. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I guess my point is Billy Napier goes to Florida. Not a splashy hire. South Carolina gets Shane Beamer. Not a splashy hire. Now, South Carolina is not the program that Florida is, but my point is these guys are good coaches, up-and-coming coaches, reasons to hire them, but it's not always Ryan Day. It's not always Lincoln Riley. It's not always Brian Kelly that works. In fact, oftentimes the splashy name doesn't work. So it is about fit. When I say fit means many things. It doesn't mean the accent that Brian Kelly had. I'm not talking about that right now when I say fit. I think fit means with the players that are to come and players that are here, with the philosophy that the program has, with the strategies. There's many different levels. Timing has a lot to do with it. And I think at this time, with this fan base, considering the insurrection that we saw on Saturday night, this fan base and where we are, Mike Elko is the right hire, and you've heard that line before when you're conflicted for making the right choice, the right answer is usually right in front of you. Mm-hmm. This one's been in front of us for a couple years.
Here's the deal. First of all, A&M needlessly made something obvious into something chaotic. Mm-hmm. It didn't need to happen. Hiring Mike Elko, my two choices would have been Mike Elko first and Elijah Robinson second, right? That should have been a quarterback sneak. It's obvious. It's there. Take it. Make the hire. But A&M, like they tend to do, they had to put everybody in motion and then shift, and all these things are going on, and then trip over your guard's foot and not get it. All you had to do was pick up the phone and call Mike Elko. That was the thing that made sense. People want guarantees. There are no guarantees. You got the guy from Alabama, and everybody celebrated, and the regents were high-fiving. It didn't work it out. You got the national championship coach at Florida State. You had some success, but he was too stubborn to admit or acknowledge his own shortcomings, and it didn't work out. You got the up-and-comer from Houston. It didn't work out. You got the guy from the NFL. It didn't work out. There are no guarantees. But when you look at Mike Elko, I would contend there are no negative aspects, none, of hiring Mike Elko.
No.
Not one thing could you look at and say, yeah, but, he went 7-5. He went 7-5 at Duke.
With his quarterback down.
You tell me how many times in a season Duke lines up with the at least equal talent to the team they're playing.
Yeah, 100%. Duke, is Duke even Vandy? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, not recently.
Under Elko, they're better than them.
Right.
But over the course of a long period, say the last 20 years, they may be, at the very best, in my opinion, equal to Vandy.
David Cutcliffe had a little bit of a nice run.
He had a nice run.
But
and then before that, you have to go all the way back to Steve Spurrier.
Yep.
And everybody else failed. And I remember I was watching the Luchador, and y'all couldn't come up with David Cutcliffe's name.
I had to remember
he was saying Deputy Dog.
Deputy Dog, yeah.
But and David Cutcliffe is a heck of a football coach.
He is.
So it takes that's just it. Steve Spurrier, one of the best football coaches of all time, had success at Duke. David Cutcliffe is a heck of a football coach, had success at Duke. You have to be a next-level football coach to have success at Duke.
You're
exactly and Mike
right.
Elko did.
Yeah, and it just feels right.
Yes.
This is pretty – I don't know if this is embarrassing for the – well, I was a little embarrassed Saturday night at some of the things that I read out there. But overall, Saturday night, I think it was 99% what I saw negative about Mark Stoops coming to A&M. I don't remember reading much like, oh, by the way, it might have worked with Mark Stoops. I don't think it would have been a terrible move. It's not the move I wanted. Okay?
It didn't make sense to me.
It didn't make sense, but he's done good things at Kentucky. How would he do here? That's the question.
Over the course of 10 years, thereabout, at Kentucky, he's had 2 10-win seasons, and that's hard to do at Kentucky.
Yep.
And I think he's only had, since after the first 3 years when he got things going, I think he's had 1 5-6 or 5-7 season. The rest of the time, they're hovering around 7 to 8 wins. So he's a good football coach.
Yes.
But, and I had taken the position that whoever you hire, I'm not going to get too upset. Or I'm not going to get too elated because you're in a show me phase now.
Right.
But that said, what about Mark Stoops makes you say, okay, yeah, this is the guy that's going to make you a national champion?
Nothing. But
that his brother was really good, but he had another brother that failed horribly.
But how unanimous. People did not want that hire. That's how it felt to me.
Yes.
All right? Nobody wanted that hire. Conversely, I'd say it's 95%, 98% approval rating for Mike Elko.
I would say as many people that was against the Stoops hire was for the Elko.
Yeah.
So Elko just made all the sense in the world, and I don't understand why, why you put yourself through all that nonsense.
Why? Yeah. Look, some of those questions will have to be answered. And I don't know if we'll be able to get to that today if there is a press conference with Mike Elko. We expect one today at some point. For those of you who are a little worried, are we sure this is a done deal? Nothing's ever done, but he's in town. We've got our friends at KBTX have video of Mike Elko getting off the plane yesterday. I think this is Tyler Shaw's Twitter account.
Nice sweater.
Look at that sweater. 2:47 a.m. Mike Elko. I think that was that time. I think I saw that on the timestamp. Getting off, and look who's there. Ross Bjork, athletic director Ross Bjork, getting off the plane as well late last night. So he is in town with our athletic director.
I think that I think Mike Elko has this hiring or impending hiring or whatever it is. I sense that there's already a rejuvenation among the Aggie population.
He represents hope. And I'm not trying to be SEC shorts funny. Like I'm being like, this is how I felt with the Stoops news. All right, we'll see. Yeah. That's how I felt. I wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is doom and gloom. I was like, we'll see. With Mike Elko, I'm like, man, this is probably going to work. Like, because not a shot at Jimbo, but kind of a shot at Jimbo. I don't think this team is that far off, right? I think with a couple of right choices, you get the right staff in place, fix your offensive line issues.
Yeah.
Right? You're a 10-2 team. Sorry, that's what I think.
I agree with it. You know, I mean, they might have won it. I don't know. If you just let go of the reins of the offense and let somebody else not just call plays, but put some to change the offense, it could have worked. I mean, again, A&M just on Saturday once again had the lead, had a 2-score lead in the second half, and couldn't hold it again.
So now the question is going to be, how does he round out his staff, right? Mm-hmm. And for those wondering, I think this year, I looked at the numbers, Duke's offense was down a little bit because of the injury to their quarterback, which is normal. We're used to seeing that here. Kevin Johns is their offensive coordinator at Duke. I don't know if they're going to bring him over or not. They averaged 27 points a game, but their defense only gave up 22 points a game. Last year, with a healthy Riley Leonard, they averaged 32.5 points, almost 33 points a game. Without the athletes that A&M will have.
That you should have. You should be able to recruit a much better caliber of athlete at A&M.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. Look, in 2020, I think A&M had the number one, or 2022, A&M had the number one recruiting class in the country. Duke was probably somewhere around 51.
Yeah.
I think I looked it up. I think there were 51 that year.
Looking at his staff, I don't know who's going to come. Just looking at it right now, there's a couple names that have been around A&M. Ishmael Artiside has been around. Tyler Santucci.
Fine.
Yeah. Just a couple names. I don't know if those guys are coming or not. I mean, he's got some decisions. He's going to have an open checkbook to figure it out. And, when I say open checkbook, who knows? Do you think some of these players are going to be, some of these coaches here in town already are going to be, interviewing for this job, maybe to keep their job here? Who knows? That's all stuff that he'll have to decide over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think there will be some changes.
Yep.
I think there'll be some significant changes, and some of those changes are going to be welcome. But I do believe, as we all do, that Elijah Robinson will be retained, as he should be. And look, Elko and Robinson have worked together before. So beyond that, hey, whatever makes A&M better.
We were going to do some of the talk about the LSU game. We'll get to that maybe around 8:35. Maybe we'll open up the phone lines or the text lines for the next segment, just to chit-chat to get people's thoughts, just a couple minutes of that. Just how do you guys feel about this hire? How did you feel Saturday night? How do you feel now? How do you feel knowing that he's actually in town and hopefully signing a contract real soon? We don't have specifics of the contract yet. I assume it has to be a little more fiscally responsible than what Mark Stoops was making. I think he's making $9.5 million a year, and I think he had a contract through 2029 with, I think, a $4.5 million buyout is what I think it was.
I don't know what they're going to pay Elko.
Yeah.
I would wonder what he makes it at Duke. I would hope that what it is. Let's say they pay him $8 million. I'm just throwing out a number. Now let's say A&M pays him $8 million.
Okay.
And then
he makes 3.5 at Duke.
3.5. Okay, 7.
Okay.
Double his salary, and then add a lot of incentives that could get him up to 10.
Yep.
And if you win 10 games, you get $500,000. You win the West, well, there's no West anymore. You get into a SEC championship game, that's another $500,000. You win it, that's $1 million. Get it up to, if you win the national championship, you just
$15 million. I said it.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay. And who would blink at that?
Nobody.
Because you've earned it. I understand that you're going to have to pay a lot of money. That's the market, and A&M should be right there among everybody else in the market. You don't want to be looked at as the place where they're not going to hire the coach, pay their coach, but put the incentives in there. If you want it to be the crazy money, okay, here's the incentives that can make you the crazy money. Learn from your mistakes, A&M. And for God's sakes, nobody give him a plaque that says national champion. Fill it in. Give him everything he needs,
and then have him earn it.
And then have him earn it.
Look, we've been saying it for 3 freaking years. It's about results. Like, I just want results. I don't need splash. I don't need a presentation. I don't need him to win the press conference today, although I think he'll do great. I don't need any of that. Go win some recruiting battles. Retain some players. Get some guys on the portal. Go win games.
Go beat the Fighting Irish.
Yeah. And
on August 31st.
Did you hear that little there's rumors out there that Notre Dame may be in the market for a quarterback. They will be. Yeah. And Riley Leonard would make sense. Game 1, A&M, Notre Dame. Elko versus Riley.
Hey, you know what I'm most worried about, though?
Okay.
Hey, recruit the roster you have right now.
Yeah.
And I still say that's a championship roster. Does it have some flaws? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And can you get better? Yeah. But overall, that's as good a talent as you have anywhere. And the scores in the fourth, the second half and how close you were to winning, bear it out. You won a lot. You lost all those games on the sideline, not on the field.
Yes, you did.
So retain as much of that roster as you can, and subsidize it. Would that be the right word? Through the portal, recruit well, and I think you got the guy that's going to bring in an offensive coordinator that's going to do things. I know they're going to play good defense, and I think you've got the guy.
I don't know if this is in correct order. In my mind, this week, or today, phone calls go out to, I'm sure he's going to address the team at some point, right? So phone calls go out to figuring out your staff, recruits, right? But I think top of mind, Connor Wigman. Connor, this is my vision for you. Stick around. And then I think my next phone call, Anais Smith. Hey, Anais, if you get a great grade for the NFL, go do it, buddy. But we want you here. And I want you to know that you are valued. And if you think they used you a certain way, we're going to take that to another level because we need people like you, leaders that lead on the field and with your production. That would be my second call.
Yep, all of them, absolutely. Retain as many of those guys. Look, Edge Cooper's probably going to the NFL, and who can blame him, right?
Yeah. So, but I believe Elko's the one who recruited him, yeah.
But, we also got to live in reality. And after the year he had, he's probably going to be going. Shamar Turner's probably be going. But you still reach out to all those guys and retain as many of those guys as you can.
Absolutely.
And then start moving forward.
If you want to be part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up. Tell us how you feel about Mike Elko being the new head coach at Texas A&M. 979-693-1150. You can also text us, 979-693-1150. If you do call us, you'll be calling us on the Brian Foley Law hotline. Good people can have a bad day. Call Brian Foley Law, serving Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, and the Brazos Valley. We've gone long this segment. That's okay. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage, who was here with us step by step all weekend long. And it was kind of long hours this weekend for all of us. It was good. It was worth it. This is why we do what we do, Nick.
A lot of fun, very fun. But hey, on top of everything that y'all said, and regardless of how you feel about the hire, two things are true and what you're going to get from Elko. You're going to get damn good defense, and you're going to get second half adjustments. And I know both of those are going to be very welcomed here.
Well, especially the way the game ended at LSU, fourth quarter adjustments, I should say, because A&M played great. I'm proud of them. I wish they won, obviously. No moral victories, yada, 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 but that team played hard, OB.
They did, and they played for Elijah Robinson. They played hard for him.
Yeah.
And, sometimes their guys, especially at wide receiver, are just better than yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Jared Schultz there. Jared, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. With all the football talk and head coaching decisions, I just don't want the basketball performance last night to be overlooked. Last night, the Aggies took on Iowa State, erased a 21-point deficit to win 73-69 without Henry Coleman and Tyrese Radford. We went 2-1 the ESPN Events Invitational, beating Penn State. But then losing to FAU, and I think a lot of that had to do with Henry Coleman kind of tweaking his ankle.
Boots not playing. Yeah,
Boots a little bit in that game as well. With 3 minutes to go in the first half, the Aggies trailed 35-14. Iowa State had a 96.8% chance of winning. Even as someone that's seen the A&M team come back a lot, even I was a little bit like, man, I don't know if we can do this. We did. It's just incredible. Solomon Washington had a new career high, 18 points, 3 of 4 from three-point land, which is really helpful because we shot 25% overall. But yeah, 18 points, new career high for him. Overall, I would say decent weekend for basketball because it went 2-1.
Oh, that was a spectacular weekend.
So
great weekend, and I'm telling you, Saturday night when I fell asleep, I think it was like 10:30. It's depressed is not the right word. I was just, all right, here we go. It was more, it's not depressed. I just wasn't into it. I wasn't turned on.
Yeah,
I think you agree.
Agree.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to be part of the conversation, you know how to do it. Let's hit a break here. When we come back, we'll read some of those text messages and get some of those thoughts. If you want to be part of the phone line, you can. The Brian Foley phone line, 979-693-1150. OB, Baton Rouge was great, but as I told you on Friday, you were far, far away from Fargo's.
I was, and that's too bad. And but what? I got an idea that through the negotiations with Elko, probably the tipping point that sealed it was they said all the rib tips from Fargo's that you can eat, Mike. We're going to cover that every Tuesday and Saturday. You got those rib tips from Fargo's. And he said, where do I sign? That's what the way I envision it.
That's how you envision? I don't think that's an actual representation of what happened, but it could have happened.
Well, I know that would that would be a deal maker for me. All the Fargo's rib tips I could eat. But, you could, if you were there on a Friday, you could get all the catfish or the pork chops or the chopped beef. So there's a lot of them. But, yeah, the rib tips are the deal maker for me.
They've been a part of this community for over 22 years, OB. You can use them for football weekends, office parties, weddings, anniversaries, funerals, dinners, any gathering or celebration, family traditions. Good food done the right way. 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan, without a doubt.
The best barbecue in Texas, i.e. the world.
Did you know that's their trademark?
Well, it's true.
Well, it is Fargo's. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan. OB, let's hear from Mike Elko. Not a today press conference yet. That hopefully this afternoon. Once we find that information out, we will certainly release it on the show. But I believe this is Mike Elko's opening press conference when he was hired at Texas A&M back in 2018. Let's listen to a little snippet from him there back in 2018.
Yeah, it's been a great transition. We've gotten our family here. We've gotten settled. Texas College Station's a great town. We've really enjoyed being here. And then the university community is phenomenal. You know, the amount of people you come across willing to help ease the transition for me and my family has been great. And so we're excited to be here and looking forward to getting going.
I do, and I'm excited that he's here too. Again, that's from 2018. I do want to bring up a point. People keep saying, like, well, hey, this is like, I made the point that I think Mark Stoops was an extension of Jimbo. Not because they have similar philosophies per se.
Coach together?
But they did coach together, right? But because to me, it's the old guard. It's the way it was done. It's the 7-5 and 8-4. It's a lot of those issues, right? When I don't think that of Mike Elko. And someone's like, well, he coached for Jimbo too. Just because you coach for somebody does not mean that you are an extension of him. Mike Elko also coached under Brian Kelly, I think for maybe 2 seasons, maybe 1 season. He's had a different role. He's also now got his own on-the-job training a couple years at Duke. And by the way, it is a departure of what we've seen Texas A&M do over the last few years or last couple decades. They have gone with offensive-minded head coaches. Right after RC, you get Fran. From Fran, you get Sherman. From Sherman, you get Sumlin. From Sumlin, you get Jimbo. All 4 have been offensive-minded. You're back to your roots, hopefully wrecking crew-esque with Mike Elko.
Well, you know, here's the fact of the matter is you've got in today's college football, you've got to be able to move the football up and down the field and score a lot. And we saw that. How many times have we seen that? But I do believe that Mike Elko is going to be more open-minded in the bringing in an offensive coordinator. Maybe he'll keep Petrino and let Petrino just run it. I don't know that he'll do that, but I think I just get the sense that he's the guy that says, hey, offensive coordinator, run this show and I'll tell you what I want you to do here and there. Sure. But you just install an offense that's up to date, that can score, that can move the ball up and down the field. And maybe we can score, you know, in 3 plays instead of having to need 10. I just have that feeling. And
I have that feeling as well.
And you know, that's just who Jimbo wasn't.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Jared, a lot of people chiming in on the hire. Let's hear from it.
Yeah, right from Orlando, he's saying, really excited about this hire. I want to see the offensive coordinator. Question I have is, will he hire a special teams coach and a recruiting coordinator?
I bet you the answer to those are both yes. I bet.
Yeah,
he had one at Duke. I went and looked through the Duke staff, and they had just about every coach you could imagine.
I don't see how you can look at what the travesty that is A&M special teams the last couple of years and not.
Patrick Doherty is their special teams coordinator / tight ends coach.
Yes.
All day, every day. What else, Jared?
Tony in Lexington, on the topic of offensive coordinator, he just asked, do you guys have a wish list of offensive coordinators?
I mean,
no, I don't.
Sometimes my wish lists are splashy names, right? I just want results again. That seems like the easy thing to say.
Look, I'll say it again. I really don't care if it's Bobby Petrino. That's fine with me. If you're going to let Bobby Petrino do what Bobby Petrino does, there's no point in bringing in a name just to call plays in the same offense.
Right.
That's not going to be the solution. The solution is overhauling what was a decayed and antiquated offensive system. But 100%. As we know, system don't matter.
System does not matter. Let's try to get one more in there, Jared.
We got one from 325. It says, Ross didn't know that there's a difference between Kentucky and Duke Blue. Butt dials are still a thing.
Butt dials are a thing out there.
Yeah. Look, all I got to do is say, just look at the reaction. And you can't judge everything by the reaction of fans, right? But the reaction of the fans should tell you something. By the way, the last time I ever saw, I can remember anything like this, the reaction of the TexAgs crew, population that seemed to force a change.
Yep.
Was remember when Tennessee wanted to hire Greg Schiano?
Yeah, that
and
lasted.
Clay Travis led a revolt, and that didn't. So this is kind of the same situation. Billy Liucci, he didn't really lead a revolt, but his followers led a revolt. His disciples.
I'll say this: I agreed with the thoughts out there. I didn't agree with how dark people got. I mean, people got dark. Like, I don't know if you read some of the stuff they got on our boards, on social media. You don't got to be mean, right? You don't have to be physical.
I didn't get to read all of them because I was actually writing Mark Stoops is the next coach story, right? That never got posted for obvious reasons. But I can only imagine after following TexAgs message boards during coach situations before, I'm sure it was quite entertaining.
It was a little extreme at times.
Dark shadows.
Yeah, a little extreme. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the game. We got to talk about the game, all right? There is some game to talk about. On the show today, just so everybody knows, we're going to have Tom Hart on at 9 o'clock, Billy Liucci 9:20 for the rest of the program. Buzz Williams will join us at 10 a.m. after that comeback yesterday. They were down 21 points, 16-0 run to cut that deficit down, and they did it without Boots. They did it without Henry. They did it with defense. Solo was phenomenal in that game.
He was.
And this is with Wade Taylor struggling, by the way.
And with Wade Taylor struggling.
8 turnovers. Didn't hit a 3.
But made some big key shots when he had to.
That shot at the free throw line at the end.
There, and there was a couple of runners. Yeah. So Wade still made an impact.
Hayden
but
Hefner,
he can be better.
He was really good, too.
Hayden had a couple, maybe 3 3-pointers.
Yeah. Andy Garcia. They all had to step up.
Eli, the new guy from Middle Tennessee, had some big shots.
Yeah.
So, what you saw was, like you just said, a whole bunch of guys stepping up and making plays.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, man, if they lose this, because you still got you got Virginia coming up, this is, and it didn't look good, but they found a way. We'll talk about that at 10 o'clock with Buzz Williams and, of course, with Billy at some point.
I know
as well.
the committee's not going to be able to hold anything against them that.
Well, look, here, how about this? I'll just read it out loud. Quad 1 games, Penn State, Quad 2, they lost to FAU.
Without 2 starters.
Quad 3, a win over Iowa State. So A&M is 3-1 against those are all quad 1s, I should say. 3-1 against quad 1s. There you go. All right, we'll talk about that here in a bit. Where's your pain, guys? Is it in your knees, your hip, or your back? Don't let it sideline you any longer. Don't let them tell you that surgery is your only option. Look, when you deal with pain, you just want to get rid of it, right? And they'll tell you, hey, man, you need to take these steroids, you need these shots. That's not how it works. There's different options out there for you. You should examine all of them because there is relief out there, and that could be with QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing that damaged joint tissue the natural way, the science of using properties from your own body to bring lasting relief with no drugs and no downtime. QC Kinetics is trusted by patients all over America, over 150 clinics nationwide with advanced protocols that get you moving once again. Get started now so you can live big in 2024. Talk about a great use of your FSA and HSA. Put them to work. Let them to help you, right? Get that pain relief now by having that work for you. Advanced regenerative treatments are amazing, getting great reviews from people with arthritic pain and pain from injury. Again, no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. can't miss on the offensive line coach. Can't miss on your strength and conditioning coach.
Heck yeah.
You can't miss on these hires, right? Mike Elko will have a lot of questions to answer, phone calls to make. Thanks to Bronny yesterday. By the way, you're listening to TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I listened to an interview with Elko from this offseason heading into the 23 season. And he kind of laid out a little bit of his philosophy when he takes over. A couple things that I took away from it was, and by the way, there's a video floating around of his strength coach, which is apparently awesome. I haven't watched that one yet. But it is on the board, so I will definitely check it out. But basically, he made a comment about, hey, ADs, like, don't make us fire like the existing staff. Like, we're trying to hire people. Like, you guys should be telling them that they're probably going to go in a different direction. So that was one of the things I took away. But it was a great interview. I can't remember the dude's name. The guy from Penn State who does a podcast, really good podcast. But we've had him on the show before. His name is escaping me because I'm old.
Okay.
How you feeling about the beard that's going to be gone at some point this week?
Yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
No, it's a good look. It's got kind of the, you're looking like the most interesting man in the world type of thing.
So it means I'm looking old. A little salt and pepper in there.
No.
It's okay. You can
look like you got the old George Michael back in the Wham days look. You know?
All right.
Little, little 5 o'clock shadow, more than kind of thing. So, got to wake you up before you go.
Boy, George once wore that sweater.
No, he didn't.
Yep.
Never happened.
You're right. Probably right. You're probably right.
Elko was wearing something kind of similar to this one. And that
it's a good look. TexAgs Radio, by the way, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by... You're not paying attention.
I'm not.
Warehouse
CNC Creations.
Yes, thank you very much. We got a couple of callers, I guess, trying to get in, so we'll maybe get to that here in a moment. Let's can we talk about the game for a moment?
Yeah.
So, I thought it was a brilliant game plan.
What?
Brilliant. They just didn't finish. And again, I love Elijah Robinson. Had they picked him as the head coach, I could have gotten down with that.
I've been fine with it.
Right? I love the toughness this team showed. I love that they went for it on fourth down.
He wasn't scared.
He wasn't. I loved how they converted so many third downs. The entire experience outside of the fourth quarter was fantastic. And I really felt like, look what we're doing to this offense. They got 14 points at the half. They found their points. They in the fourth quarter, they got it going.
Well, where I think the game, in my mind, really turned was when LSU went for it on 4th and 4 at midfield, and you got to account somehow for Jaden Daniels scrambling. We talked about it all week, right? And he broke loose one. I mean, it's hard to blame somebody. That's what he does. It was a 49-yard gain, and then A&M comes back. I think they missed a field goal after that.
Yeah.
And then the next time they got the ball, they had an interception, and then everything snowballed from there. But I really applauded Elijah. I love the way they approached the game. They were patient, but they weren't scared. How many times we see Jimbo, oh, it's midfield, it's 4th and 1, I think I got a punt. And, I think, what were they? They were 3 of 5 on 4th down, right? And one of them was a beautiful play.
The Max
and
drop.
Max, right, dropped it. Now, he redeemed himself.
51-yard touchdown.
But I mean, the play was there. And then the other one was in the last minute when it really didn't matter anyway.
Right. Look, I'm proud of the effort. That doesn't mean anything, but for a interim head coach to have this team go to Baton Rouge with the lead in the fourth quarter. Look, people thought we were going to get steamrolled. I hate that they won by the 12 because I picked A&M to cover the 11.5, but it is what it is. And, Moose had a nice play. Ja'Day Walker continues to impress. Defense had some nice plays.
Tight ends were great.
Tight ends were fantastic. Outside of that drop, the tight ends were. I mean, both
had touchdowns and both carried defenders into the end zone.
Yeah, Jake's, that was just strength right there. Max.
And by the way, Jalen Henderson made an outstanding play on that touchdown to Jake.
I also thought it was interesting, because it didn't feel that way at the end of the game. It certainly felt that way at the half. But A&M had more total yards than LSU. One more total yard. But it didn't feel that way, the way the fourth quarter unraveled.
Yeah. Gosh. And I hate to to say it, but man, LSU, their receivers are just so good. And you want to say, yeah, I know they're good, and that's why you have to be better. And they were just better than A&M's DBs. And I do question how A&M's DBs are coached. It seems like they rarely make a play on the ball. They run with receiver. But I can remember when the guy was trying to make a play on the ball, and I think it was Thomas, just won the 50-50 ball. Just won it because he's that good.
What was your turning point in the game?
I still say, to me,
the missed field goal?
No, to me, it was the I know A&M still had the lead, but it was the scramble on 4th and 4. If you get the stop if you get the stop there, you got a 10-point lead and the ball on their side of the 50 and all kinds of momentum behind you.
Yeah.
And they end up scoring the touchdown. Yet you did answer and almost score a touchdown, but you settled for the field goal. And once again, get you a special teams coach. A&M misses too many easy field goals. And I don't mean to be cracking on Bond because he had a 50-yarder too.
Yep.
So give him credit for that.
But they do miss too many field goals. Yeah.
They do. If they're not blocked, they're missed. Something's got to change.
I'm going to give a different one then because I think you're right. That is the turning point in the game. But you could when it became the fourth quarter, right, things seemed to unravel. You have Max Wright's 51-yard touchdown, and LSU basically strikes on the next play. It was not called a touchdown, but they moved the ball up 35 yards. That was the Malik Neighbors play. You get to I'm sorry.
Did they kick the ball out of bounds on the kickoff right after that?
I think they did.
So hey, give them more.
More yards.
What the hell is going on with special teams?
We got to fire the special teams coordinator.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, so they move up. They don't get the touchdown, which would have been a backbreaker. They get to a 3rd and 4 from the 15. Okay? You stop them there, field goal, you're down 8. Right. You have a chance to tie the game. Logan Diggs gets the first down, and they get the touchdown eventually. And 12 points with whatever time was left was way too much. So that, to me, was the other turning point in the game because you had a chance to still tie the game had you held them on that 3rd and 4.
Aggies, Elko, you just got to get a little better.
I said this over the weekend, and I hope it resonates with you. I think fans, media, when a regime is done, you want different, right? And that's why the Stoops thing didn't feel different. You want something to feel different, a departure from what you used to do. And too many times we have seen A&M go this soft, conservative route. You want something different. You want to have an offensive line that can block. You want to have special teams that works. And one thing I will give Elijah credit for, and maybe Jimbo too, I have to go back to the box score, but the second half of the season, not as many penalties as we saw early on.
That's true. But again, I came away so impressed with Elijah Robinson.
Me too.
Just again, he was always under control. I never saw him seem like he was panicking on everything. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And they just they were just being physical when they needed to be. They picked up some hard yards. I love them putting Mark Naboo in the backfield.
That was cool.
Hey, we need a yard here. Let's move Basantas to guard, and let's run this 325-pound guy and let him. And he goes flying in there. There's no way they were going to stop that. Why did it take to the 12th game for a team that had all kinds of trouble early in the season picking up a yard? Why did it come to the 12th game and an interim coach to figure out, hey, let's do something different?
Because sometimes you see things like this. I've got blinders on. You see things one way, and sometimes you got to take a step back and see the whole picture.
Well, for too long, they had Lewis Braille then call. If you're talking about blinders, they had a Lewis Braille-like approach to how to pick up a first down.
Yep. Colin says Chappelle going down really hurt A&M, and that did hurt. That did hurt. Those receivers are good, but that did hurt. Hey, by the way, YouTubers, thank you. We got some record people watching today. I'm assuming not everybody's an Aggie, right? Join the team.
Welcome you.
Hey, we talk about SEC, like we got to talk about the Iron Bowl. I mean, that 4th and 3rd.
Never rush 3.
Do it again.
Never rush 3. If you rush 3, you're asking to lose. Never rush 3. Never. Ever.
Sorry.
Rush 3.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with more here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, we're talking about career opportunities at the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for a reason to come back to Aggieland, especially now, Elko Days, come on. Got some oceanside property to show you. Not really, but we got some lake stuff to talk about. The Association of Former Students is seeking to hire professionals to join their team. They are the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. The association plays a part in each and every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss the opportunity to help the association with Howdy Socials and Aggie Ring Day, the class reunions, and Aggie Muster and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies the Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining a team or sharing with somebody who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Well played. Little wham.
I'm actually sorry I brought that up now.
People were texting about it. It's great. It's great. Look, you had your, what's the dude's name from that movie? Uncle Fester.
Rico.
Uncle Rico.
And I almost have that hair today.
Yeah, you almost do it. You will be Uncle Fester one day. That's for sure. It's TexAgs Radio.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think my hair's hanging on.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You just.
That's good, strong hair.
The only other uncle I could think about.
Yeah.
Is there any other uncles?
Uncle Sam. I want you to come to A&M.
Let's do Around Aggieland now, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandstatebank.com. Let's go to the fabulous Kay Nagley.
The fabulous? Wow.
I'm just giving you new words.
Full of compliments this morning. Hey, did anything happen good this weekend? Because
basketball, volleyball, by the way.
Actually,
Women's basketball won.
It was overwhelmingly positive for a weekend, which unfortunately,
with the exception of that, pesky loss.
I mean, yeah. Besides that, on all fronts, all 4 sports currently happening right now had a overall good weekend. And as we know, Texas A&M has not officially announced Mike Elko is returning to Aggieland this time as Texas A&M's 30th head coach in program history. He is expected to be introduced today, and the terms of his contract have yet to be released, so we will get those to you when we know more. And then, unfortunately, A&M did blow a third quarter lead and surrendered 21 points to Jaden Daniels and LSU as they claimed the season finale 42-30. A&M finished the regular season 7-5, but we have a new head coach here in Aggieland, arrived last night, so hopefully things can turn around. Also, despite not having Henry Coleman and Tyrese Radford, men's basketball did actually overcome a 3-touchdown, 21-point deficit as Aggie basketball beat Iowa State last night, 73-69. They completed their stay in Orlando 2-1 to finish off the ESPN Events Invitational, and they will now travel to Charlottesville to take on number 24 Virginia on Wednesday. That'll be a big one for the Ags. So, and then also more positive news: Jamie Morrison and Aggie volleyball will be dancing in the NCAA tournament as they have earned an at-large bid. They will unfortunately face arch rival Texas in the first round.
There's a shock.
Yeah, that will be on Thursday. So make sure to tune in to those Aggies. And then women's basketball had a dominant fourth quarter to win 65-51 over Cal. That is Joni Taylor's first true road win at A&M. So great win by them. And then India Rogers was also named MVP of that tournament, averaging 13 points. So all around, had a pretty good weekend on all fronts.
Let me interject. I'll touch this off.
You got time.
It's about LSU. I came away. I always knew this, but LSU has the most vulgar, disgusting, heinous, D-bag fans, and that includes my son. Some of the
You're going to take a shot at your son like that.
Some of the heinous, just vulgar, disgusting things they say with women there and children there. I mean, there should be a line. And I'm not a prude, and I'll cross almost every line, but there should be a line.
But by the way, all you have to do is search Aggie Twitter on Saturday night. Just saying. There was a little bit of that going on,
saying
too,
Aggies
buddy.
are pretty.
I mean, typically not, but there was a little bit of that.
But is there kids around?
No, but I'm sure kids have access to Twitter sometimes. OB, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. When we come back, Tom Hart next on TexAgs Radio. And we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline because our buddy Tom Hart looking dapper this morning. What are we going to talk about this morning, Tom? Is there stuff to get into?
I don't know. Anything going on? We talk about the fact that you lost your razor. Maybe we start there.
Well,
what happened?
Yeah, Olin Buchanan said I looked like George Michael from 1988, so that was nice. That was real nice.
Olin going old school. I like it. There's a new show out about George Michael, I believe. I think there's a on Netflix.
Yeah, I may watch it, but not now. I feel like I shouldn't. This will be gone at some point this week. It was my Thanksgiving kind of just beard, and Billy said you got to keep it for the presser.
Here's my perspective. It's a time of change in Aggie land. Okay, maybe this is the change that you need. Right, this is how you can contribute to getting the Elko era off to the right start. Everybody just do things a little bit differently than they've done the last couple of hires, and the rocket ship is poised to take off.
Honestly, though, I don't like looking old, so I think I'm going to get rid of it real soon, Tom. I think the salt and pepper beard kind of ages me.
I would say that you don't need this, but for men our age or thereabouts, the beard can hide 10 pounds of fat, but can add 10 years of age. So
there is that. Hey, so where do we start? Let's start with Elko, and then we can work our way back to Saturday, the fiasco that it was. Not just the end of the A&M LSU game, but just the whole Stoops thing and that whole debacle. What do you think about this hire? Does it work in your eyes?
I think it works. There are no guarantees. There are no givens, right? I think it brings stability, and it brings somebody into the fold who knows the program, which is a very scenario, right? I mean, Texas A&M football is different than a lot of places. The community is different. Aggies are different. Take pride in being so. And so I think you get a guy who understands that, and I think that's key. By the way, speaking of Stoops, I think he learned some of that maybe the hard way if he was following Twitter on Saturday night. The fact that coach today without Mike Elko speaks on. Elko's well respected. He was able to win it right off the bat. Like there wasn't time to lay out a runway to get going. Like it was boom, year one, and I think that adds a lot of promise to this whole thing. He's a great coach, and the other part of him that I was thinking about during this whole process, because during the Saturday night fiasco, it seemed that Stoops was going there and that State was still open, and that maybe he ends up at State. And I was telling people, like, listen, he's turned down jobs before. If he doesn't want to end up at Mississippi State, he'll wait for something better. I think it was his second year. I think it was 2018 when Jeff Collins left Temple. They came after Mike Elko, and he had a chance for that job. And he said, no, I'd rather stay at A&M. I'd rather stay as a DC here and wait for something better. So he's always been very sensible and patient, and that kind of goes to who he's worked under before, being with Rick Clausen for so long. So, Dave Clausen, pardon me. I think it's a very sensible hire and a great foundation to build from.
Tom, we're going to do this. We're going to call you because the internet's going in and out. So just pick up your phone here in about 10 to 20 seconds, all right? Tom Hart there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We're going to give him a call here in a moment. I do want to respond. Like some people are like, why aren't you going after Bjork? Look, I didn't like the Mark Stoops hire. I didn't. I don't like the way it played out. So you want me to go after Bjork for that singular moment? Okay. I mean, I didn't like it. There you go. That's how I'm going after him. I didn't like that idea. Things worked out the way I think they're supposed to work out. And you ended up getting Mike Elko, the same Ross Bjork that did hire Jim Schlossnagle, Joni Taylor, Jamie Morrison, Trisha Ford, Garrett Chadwell. Like the list goes. Brian Corton. Like the list goes on. That I say all that, saying that you're right though. Saturday was not a good look. It wasn't a good look from the athletic department sense, and also wasn't a great look for the way we responded to it. We go back to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. There is Tom Hart. Tom, we're just kind of recanting, or going back to, not recanting, we're going back to the whole Mark Stoops fiasco. I never thought it was the right hire. I think it could have worked. I just didn't like it. I didn't like what it represented. I didn't like the cost. I didn't like the direction it was going to go. But it might have worked. I just didn't love it, and our fan base absolutely didn't love it.
Well, first of all, mean, they reach their conclusions based on their history with the program, and it's something that an outsider can never, I don't think, can ever walk in and say, no, you guys are doing this wrong, you're feeling the wrong way. I thought it was a good hire. I thought it was similar to Elko and a very high floor, and at A&M the ceiling will always be the talent. The ceiling, to me, is not tied into who the head coach is. The ceiling is tied into, can you develop talent that shows up? Can you continue to get the talent? Obviously, Jimbo's stubbornness was a roadblock in many ways, but I thought Stoops would have brought a guy in who knew the conference well and knew how to build from the inside out. And they already have, a lot of the pieces in place right there. I think it was really interesting in talking to a lot of people in Lexington about how all this went down is what makes Mark Stoops a great coach at Kentucky is the people that are around him. And he's built that program into being something that is so appealing that, from what I'm told, numerous people wanted to stay behind and try for that job. So I think there was a challenge for him to convince his offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, Vince Marrow, his number one recruiter, to come with him. I think they looked at it and said, whoa, why would I leave and take on the challenges and the frustrations there? We're building here, and I could maybe be the head coach here. And I think that was certainly part of it. But listen, the idea that anybody is a lock to win a national championship is that's just folly. You've got to get the guy in who you believe in, and I think Elko and Stoops are very similar in that way. So once again, it's a solid hire.
Tom, I went on an opening monologue earlier. Just the splashy hires don't necessarily work, and the non-splashy hires oftentimes do. Not always, obviously. There's no absolutes, as you said a moment ago. But like Lincoln Riley, the jury is out. Brian Kelly, I think, is working. Some people came to me and said it wasn't, but I think A&M would gladly trade the last 2 years LSU's had for what A&M's had. But then you think about some of the other names. Mike Norvell was not splashy. Ryan Day was promoted. Like there's just because it's not a huge name. You look at the SEC, most of these coaches that have been hired over the last few years, most of them are not splashy names.
No, I think that, listen, I think I want to be clear about this. I think the ceiling for A&M is more in line with the ceiling at a place like LSU. But many of the teams in the middle of the pack deal with the same, and that's where A&M is right now, deal with the same frustration, and that is, trying to have not just success in 1 year, but sustained success, right? Take what A&M did at 20 and replicate that. So I say this with a caveat. We'll see what happens next year. But Eli Drinkwitz wasn't Missouri's first choice. They went pretty far down the line to get him, and he's won 10 games this year. Now, can he repeat that? Can he do it again next year? But he's got him playing in a New Year's Six. And to your point, when that hire was made, that wasn't something that made national headlines or had Nick Saban shaking in his boots. So I think you make a very, very solid point about, and it's the same thing. Like my comp would be NFL quarterbacks on draft day, right? Tom Brady is the best example of it all. But there's no guarantee, and there are more misses than hits, and that comes with the expectations. I would circle back to your Brian Kelly comparison, and I would say that I think in the next 5 years we're going to get to a place in college football where the coaching salaries either get capped or start to come down, and that money is going through revenue sharing to the players themselves, and that's the easiest place for it to come from. So I don't think it's a wise decision to be in a spot right now where on top of a multi-million-dollar buyout, you're also investing tens of millions in the guy. You need to be a little more frugal at this point.
Talking to Tom Hart on the Brian Foley Law Hotline here on TexAgs Radio. So the hiring of Mike Elko is now official. They sent out a press release. They sent out a tweet as well saying that it is official. He is the head coach. The press conference or the gathering will begin at 2 o'clock today. Parking available, yada, yada, yada. A welcome celebration will be held at Kyle Field's Ford Hall Champion, entry 3 off of Welburn Road, 3 o'clock. So that's the welcome, and then the presser will be at 2 o'clock. Tom, beyond that, man, can we talk about the Iron Bowl? Goodness gracious, that game delivers every year. And that 4th and 31, the perfect throw, the weird defense from Auburn, all that. Just give it to me.
Well, I thought for most of that final drive, Nick Saban was going to strangle everybody involved on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, Jalen Milroe, as great as that last throw was, he showed multiple times on that drive why he got benched in September. And that's not something that Nick Saban is used to dealing with. But it delivers for a couple of reasons. Number one, it matters. It matters, obviously, to those two fan bases. But I kept thinking during that game, and I know this is a little pessimistic, but if Auburn wins that game and Alabama turns around and beats Georgia, the SEC could very easily gotten boxed out of a national championship contender. They could have gotten boxed out of the playoff given what's happening elsewhere and the fact that Alabama lost head-to-head to Texas. So, to me, there was way more on the line than just those two fan bases, pulling for a thrilling ending. I think you take everything into consideration. The A&M LSU game, Ohio State, Michigan, the Iowa State and Kansas State playing in a foot of snow. Like, I was just a fan. We worked Thursday. I didn't leave my couch all day, and I thought it was beautiful. Like, this is what you people get to do every college football Saturday. This is amazing. And every window, every time slot delivered, headlined by Bama coming back.
Yeah. How about Sam Pittman in Arkansas? They, was it a week ago? They said they were not going to get rid of him. That was an uninspiring performance there against Missouri. He's got to be on the shortest of leashes if he's back next year, right?
I would say that, KJ Jefferson is all they had, and he got hurt in the first quarter of that game, and it was done. Now, could they have played better defensively? Could they have tackled Cody Schrader maybe once? Yeah, that's all fair. But, once again, here's your choice if you're Arkansas. Dave. You spend the money and buy out Sam Pittman, and then have to hire a brand new staff. And all that money, it's not – I know we think that there's just money trees everywhere, and certainly some programs have more access than others, but there's a limit somewhere. And some programs haven't found that limit, and some are keenly aware exactly what it is. But if you're Arkansas, how do you have money for NIL if you got to spend tens of millions of dollars to buy out coaches and buy new ones? I think that could be a new trend. Like, hey, hold on. Let's hold on to our guy. He took us to 8 wins a couple of years ago. Let's say that money would have been spent on a buyout. Let's support him through NIL. Let's get better players on campus. I think that's a wise way to do it if you're a middle-of-the-pack team with limited resources.
What do you think about the way Kentucky, who, by the way, it looked like they were going to lose their head coach because Whisper started before that game, by the way, plays an inspired game and takes it to Louisville, the rival?
It just goes to show that, to me, that was a great example of the SEC being superior to the ACC. I think Louisville climbed it to a top 10 team based on some wins against okay teams. They're probably more like the 20th ranked team in the country. And what was the biggest issue for Kentucky this year? They got smoked by Alabama and Georgia. And by the way, when that happens to either, and I felt this year more than any other year. I felt it from Mark Stoops. I felt it from Lane Kiffin. Coaches that said, I am eons behind where Alabama and Georgia are. And I don't know if I can get there in this current spot, in this current setup. And I think it was a reality slap in the face for those guys, understanding just how out of balance the talent is when you're going against Georgia and Alabama, or teams similar to that each and every week. But that was a big win for them. They've had an awful year, just up and down, and a lot of inconsistencies. And they made a mistake in the transfer portal with a quarterback. They went and found what they thought was the best quarterback in the portal, not the best fit for their system of what they wanted to do. And it was going to take them too long to dig out of that hole that they put themselves in. But a great example to learn. Riley Leonard now is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the portal, probably going to end up leaving Duke for Notre Dame, from what I've heard. But I think you have to ask the question, just because he's the best quarterback, does he fit what we want to do? And I think coaches are learning that lesson now.
Tom, what happens if Bama beats Georgia at the SEC championship game? Does an SEC team get left out? Does Texas sneak in? What's going to happen?
Well, to me, the pivot point is Florida State. because if they can beat Louisville and look good doing it, it's going to be really hard to leave them out. If they lose that game or they only eke by a Louisville team that just lost to Kentucky, then you may see an undefeated Power 5 team be left out because they don't have the Heisman caliber quarterback that they had for the first 10 and a half games of the season. So I think that's where it all starts. Georgia's excellence, not just this year, but over the last 3 years, I think, though that sounds unfair, I think it's good enough to get them in, barring some crazy result or injury or whatever that might be. Very real chance you get two of them in. And by the way, in the Big Ten, there's no way Iowa's winning that game. So Michigan, go ahead and pencil them in. It's just a question of how high up you put them. I'd be fascinated to see Georgia 1 and Alabama 4. And then the question becomes, does the committee move a seed line to try and protect not having a rematch, which would be insane, that Alabama could not only get in by winning the SEC, but get the 3 seed. Anything could happen. I'm ready for 12, though. That's the bottom line. We need to get to 12, and so many more of these games late in the year would have had even more meaning and been more fun, and we'd have more games on campus ready to just kind of ride that rocket ship all the way to a true tournament.
Tom, last thing for you. You mentioned a moment ago Riley Leonard potentially going to Notre Dame when he enters the portal. You know who Notre Dame opens up with?
No.
Texas A&M. Mike Elko. How about that, buddy?
Oh, that's fantastic. How did I miss that? Oh, that is so much fun. Oh, man. We didn't have great week 1 games this year in college football. The season didn't disappoint, don't get me wrong, but we didn't have any real interesting starts. Riley Leonard, by the way, is further proof that as great a job as Mike Elko did, you need an athlete at quarterback to win big football games. That's going to be a ton of fun. And by the way, let's also not lose sight of the state that we are now in the transition. I mean, we only have 1 game left in what was the SEC. Everything's changing now with the 12-team playoff in Oklahoma and Texas coming in. Everything changes, and not many people know exactly how it's going to work out.
As I've been saying for, 2 weeks, a new hope for Texas A&M, Star Wars style. A new hope, 12-team playoff, new coach, new strategy, buddy.
Was that Ray? Is that her name?
No, well, Ray was in A Force Awakens. New Hope was the first one that we saw when we were kids. That would be Star Wars 4 in the order, but 1 in our hearts.
1 in our hearts, without a doubt.
Tom, safe travels, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Take down the Death Star.
Take it down.
Good catching up.
Later, buddy.
See you, bud.
Yeah, Tom Hart on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Appreciate his time. All right, when we come back, Billy Liucci. He's been here, walking around. I saw him. Love it. He's early. Got a lot to talk about with Billy. Right now, we're talking about Chance McClain and Heritage Films. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. So he actually sent me a text over the weekend. I don't know if I can find it as I'm talking. But basically, he was telling me that he got a new client that is a Aggie. And he said, the Aggie family. He says, happy Thanksgiving, bud. We're doing a year flicks for an Aggie freshman whose dad is an Aggie and wants to capture his son's experience at Texas A&M. Capture that experience, guys. These year flicks videos are awesome, 20-minute videos where you can capture where they are in life right now. Then fast forward to next year. Boom, get another year flicks done. Junior year, senior year, 4-part mini story done the Chance McClain way with Heritage Films. These are awesome 20-minute Q&A videos. You're going to love it. Benchmark videos, getting to know where your kid is at, what they're into, their major, stuff you know, but capture it with their voice and then hear their thoughts about it, their journey, everything about it. That is what Chance does with Year Flicks through Heritage Films. He also does the documentary films we've been talking about families, about your family ranch, your family business, the patriarch, your grandfather, your mother, whomever it may be, right? He does these stories, and he tells your story, and it's a 2-hour documentary, Netflix style. You're going to love it. Call him up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. It is Heritage Films. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. I got a text that says, Nuño, you just made me a fan by mentioning my complaint. Keep it up, sir. Look, guys, I just don't like, and by the way, I've turned over a new leaf. Jared, you'll appreciate this. I usually like respond, like to fight people. I'm nice now. I hug people. I'm Team Jesus. I'm hugging. That's what I do. But this 979, I believe his name is Steve. Might be wrong here, but I believe he wanted me to go after the athletic department for the whole debacle on Saturday night. Guys, I think you are, because we are so good at what we do. When we say we, Billy is so good at what he does. You get to find out things before other people find out, and had that been, 1984, and there wasn't social media and people breaking news the way Billy does, you would have never known the behind-the-scene things. You would have just known that Mike Elko a few minutes ago was named the head coach for Texas A&M, and then you'd have an opinion based on that. So that's where we are right now, right? I didn't like Saturday night. I didn't like it for a host of reasons. I didn't like it because I didn't like the way we responded. When I say we, the fan base. But they got the right guy. They got the right guy, I feel, for this job for right now. And beyond that, hello, Billy Liucci. Hello. You're in a good mood, buddy. You like the way I said buddy?
I don't like that at all.
Why not?
But it's fine.
Hey, buddy.
What do you think? You're like the extra character.
Dude, that's
on
pretty
Friends?
demeaning. You can't just call people grown men buddy.
This guy makes
Not
fun
that
of me
way.
daily.
I say buddy a lot. I write it a lot in text, like to your friends, like, oh, thanks, buddy. But I don't do it like that. I don't know. I feel like it's like a. I feel like at some point along the way you practiced and you were like, if I was on an 80s sitcom,
hey,
this would be my greeting.
Yeah, no practicing.
When I walked into the coffee shop, when I walked into the diner, like every episode I walk in, I'm like, hey, buddy. And everybody's
pal.
like, oh, you could hear it.
It is a very 1980s
Like you're the
Kirk
seventh
Cameron.
member of Friends or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
The extra person on, you would probably be on the Facts of Life. Like the guy that walks. Is that Tootie?
Tootie, yeah. And there was the other one, Blair. Big fan of Blair back in 1983.
Yeah, Blair was hot back.
Do you know where the Facts of Life
You're
actually
probably
originated?
You're probably more of a Joe Polnicek guy.
No, Mrs. Garrett. That's my speed.
Okay.
You know where
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
You know where that show started?
No.
Mrs. Garrett was the housekeeper on Different Strokes.
Oh, that's right.
And then she moved on to
Those spin-off shows rarely work, but that one did.
That one worked.
I'll tell you one of the spin-offs, 90210
Melrose
spin off into Melrose, and that was a banger.
Dr. Mancini was Mancini, right? Dr. Mancini. He was my guy. I think it was Dr. Mancini.
Was it that like soap opera guy?
No, he was like one of the characters on.
Yeah, but he
Melrose
was on like soap operas.
No, I think he was a doctor.
I think he had a song at one point.
Huh.
I forget what it was.
We just lost everybody.
Through my tree. I don't know.
Yep. So we've talked about a lot of stuff over the last.
Yeah, I know. What do you want to talk about now?
But I feel like the radio audience, they didn't get to hear that. We had some premium stuff. Let's kind of get into some of our. Okay, so
I'm going to start with one sentence because at 10 o'clock, are we still? Is Buzz coming today?
Buzz, yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to talk so much Elko and football, and we already have, and we're going to, and I think I'll probably come in again tomorrow. There's too much to talk about. That what that basketball team did yesterday.
Oh yeah,
I'm so pumped for them and proud of them, and that to go in there, coming off a tough loss to Florida Atlantic, to a really good team, and play without Henry, without Boots. You're already playing obviously this for an indeterminate period of time without Julius Marble. You really were without what you thought were going to be three of your 4 or 5 best players entering, camp, entering the season. Even if you have said they've been operating knowing they haven't had Marble available, you were playing without 2 of your 3 veteran, go-to guys. And Wade struggled yesterday, uncharacteristically. Turnovers, didn't score as much. And for them to overcome that against a Big 12 team, and I don't know how good Iowa State's tough to tell because they haven't played really anyone yet. except A&M and Virginia Tech. But they were 5-1. They're a Big 12 team that historically goes to the tournament.
Yep.
That's a good program. And to beat them, sans Boots and Henry, coming off a loss and being down 21 points was freaking incredible. And just we'll move on and go to something else here, but I want to say you've beaten now 2 Big 10 teams and you've beaten a Big 12 team. Those 3 teams are going to win a lot of meaningful games in conference. Ohio State's already done so when they knocked off Alabama this weekend that a lot of people missed because we were so busy with the coaching surge and the football game. That's really significant. And then you talk about how many games they're winning away from Reed Arena, both true road games and in this tournament. Their resume right now is looking really, really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we get into the Elko?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, well, I woke up this morning to a tweet
Got
from you.
Got yourself a gun. Well,
oh, good song.
And then Elko's from Jersey.
He is from Jersey,
So
Sopranos. But I woke up this morning to your tweet about Mike had, I guess, landed. I think that's how you had phrased it. I forget.
No, I said he was in the air.
In the air,
He
sorry.
took off. Took a while. It was for the Duke people, I've been reading a lot about from Duke this morning, and they're very bitter.
Mm-hmm.
They're very upset. They're very pissed off. It feels to me a lot like when Billy Gillispie left A&M for Kentucky. It's like you knew it was probably going to happen because it's Kentucky basketball. It's A&M basketball at that time. Even today, nobody's not going to go. And not that A&M has the championships that Kentucky basketball does. And Texas A&M football is not Kentucky basketball, obviously. But Texas A&M football is in the SEC. It's 100,000 out here. People around the country view it as, they've got all the money in the world, and they do, and the facilities, and it's big time. It's big time, and they need to get the right coach to live up to that big timeness of it all and put trophies in that case. And that's what they believe Mike Elko can do here, and I believe he can too. But Duke fans, they know they're a basketball school. They know it's the big bad SEC. They know it's Texas A&M and what they consider like, it's oil money. That's what everybody around. So they didn't think they had a chance to keep him, and then they did think they had a chance because they could sense that loyalty to it. They were not wrong in how much he and his family loved and love it there. So it wasn't. I'm just telling any Duke fan that's paying attention. I got all the respect in the world for those programs that are, not working with as much as others. Now, then again, in basketball, they live the charmed life, so they see both sides of it. But that decision for Mike Elko to leave, and I'm sure he'll talk about it today, was incredibly difficult. Like, that was not – I don't care that he's getting a raise. I don't care that he's coming over here with this loaded, talented roster and the unlimited resources and stuff. Yeah, ultimately, those are the type things that push you over the top. He loved living in Durham, coaching at Duke, what they were able to do there. I think he was so connected to it. But that was also the way he felt here. He coached here for 4 years. When he left, I know when he left, had to be his dream to say, man, one day I would love to be back as the head coach at this place. One day probably came a lot sooner than he expected. And I don't think he planned to leave Duke after 2 years. I believe he could have had the Michigan State job had he wanted it. I believe he could have had the Mississippi State job had he wanted it. And his name never came up for that one. But he could have had jobs like that. He would not have left Duke for that. Just like when he was at A&M, and he did not leave A&M for multiple head coaching jobs. But he left for Duke because he loved that opportunity. He loved that part of the country. And it fit, and it worked. And unfortunately for Duke, just like for A&M with a lot of these basketball coaches, it worked so well for him that he parlayed that into kind of going out and getting that dream job.
Right.
And that's what it is. And I get it on the Duke side. It makes me feel even – not that I needed to, but I feel even better about the Elko hire when you see how, bummed and upset and borderline pissed off the Duke people are today.
Yeah.
You always want that rather than the
good. Take them.
You know what? And I'll say this: you're not hearing anything negative. You're not hearing anything negative. Not that I would expect that, but you're not hearing people go, well, underneath it really wasn't, there was a culture issue, or there wasn't stability, or there wasn't, it was not going to be sustainable what they were doing, and coaches were going to leave and players were going to trade. You didn't hear a lot of that, any of that actually coming out of Durham in the last 24 hours.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with more. We got a lot more on this throughout the show. And again, Buzz Williams at 10 o'clock. Right now, we're talking Milliken Reserve, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces. And their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. They've done that by committing and treading lightly to that native land out there. Milliken Reserve is creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. They've got an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks, ponds, and gathering areas. Great place to just connect with your family, committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. You'll find all the animals you can imagine, from white-tailed deer to songbirds to rabbits to turtles out there. Milliken Reserve provides natural settings for people to connect to each other. You can go hiking there, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails, the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, and, of course, the farmer market tours. You can learn more information at millikenreserve.com. You can also buy property out there. Beautiful neighborhoods, the creek, the hollow, the meadows, all are wonderful places. Again, the website is millikenreserve.com. Again, millikenreserve.com. Welcome back in, everybody. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy is with us here as, or by the way, those of you watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very, very much. Continue to subscribe to the channel. We do talk about all things, not just, mostly A&M, but we do talk everything on here. I want to read this out loud just so people can have the information. There's going to be a welcome celebration held at Kyle Field at the Ford Hall of Champions, entry 3 off of Welborn Road at 3 p.m. on Monday. The general public is welcome to attend. Parking available in the Stallings Garage adjacent to the A&M Hotel and Conference Center on West Campus Parking Garage. Media are welcome to attend the celebration, and then a press conference will be, that's for us, afterwards. So that's the information for today. Go support Coach Elko as he starts his first day, and I'm sure it's crazy, gets to town late, middle of the night, probably sleeps for a little bit, and probably already working the phones this morning, Billy.
Yeah, I'm working the phones. So I'm trying to get guests for us, Nuño.
Thank you.
One thing I'm already kind of I would say this. When we talk about what A&M needs and what Elko is going to bring to the table, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that, I don't know, in the media that felt kicked around or, oh my gosh, Jimbo and I didn't always see eye to eye, that contrary to what people think. But I don't think it has to be a situation where everyone's lining up now to they did it to some, to every coach, Sherman, even who's the nicest guy ever. They line up to kick you when you're going out the door, but they wouldn't stand there and kick at you when you were sitting there.
Right.
And don't be like that. I do think, A&M needs structure. I think they're in need of a culture change. I think a fresh start with the discipline. I think Texas A&M in any sport needs all of those things. I think what Buzz Williams has brought to the basketball court, what Slosh has brought to the diamond, A&M, I feel like there's got to be a level of toughness and just want to, and really we just want to see our guys love playing ball.
Right.
And we see that this team won me over this year with how hard they played. They just made so many mistakes, and there was a lack of on-field discipline at times that killed them, with the penalties and the special teams blunders. And, a year ago, it was a lot of drops. It's just things like that. And to me, those things are borne out. And it's not like Jimbo was coaching them to do that. But what's happening is, over time, things just you lose your grip on some things, and some things become just without anyone realizing it, they become acceptable. Yeah. So if I'm Mike Elko, I'm walking in here, and he's, the good thing about him is he knows that. He knows he had to have been sitting there, and he's not the type to say anything, but he's sitting there for 4 years going, man, I don't like seeing that, or I would maybe do this. It's human nature, in your head, I would do this differently, I would do that differently. So I think that's a great advantage for him coming in, because he knows the good, but he also knows the bad.
Right.
But he does know the good. So there's a mesh point and a vantage point there that he'll have that other coaches wouldn't have had. There's going to be a period of transition for him sitting in this new chair. Hell, he's walking over here today. He's probably doing it right now, touring facilities he's never seen here. Because he didn't sneak in and see this stuff, okay? Right. So he's been coaching at Duke. He hadn't toured. Today is literally the first time. So this is a familiar place, and he's going to walk around and go, damn, are you kidding me? Because it is, if you've walked around in those things and the walkthrough rooms and the indoor, he's going to be blown away, which is funny because he was here 2 years ago, and he's going to be this is a different place. But he also knows a lot about the roster. He knows damn well about the culture, better than anyone else that could have come in here. So he knows what he needs to fix. And I think discipline, and I don't think it's these guys played hard this year.
Yeah, they did.
I watched them come back from, I watched them come back from 14-0 at Ole Miss and almost win it. I watched them battle back. I watched them go into LSU playing hard for Elijah and leading that game almost through 3 quarters. I watched them fight to the end against Tennessee and Bama when things were just not going well for them. We watched them bounce back from that disappointment in Miami. They fought, they played hard, but I think where Elko and this new staff can really change things are like that day-to-day mindset. Like every day when you walk around, like class attendance, weight room attendance, the expectation level of all, like you're banged up, practice, man. Like if all the trainers say you're healthy and you like practice, don't just sit till Thursday and then try to play. Like things like that, I think he can come in and that's a culture change. And that is a Sunday to Saturday thing. That's not a Saturday thing. That's all week. That's an off-season thing. So I think that would be that's the single biggest challenge in front of him because he's going to easily be able to go put together a staff that he feels great about. He's going to bring guys from Duke. He's going to keep Elijah, and I'm not acting like. By the way, Elijah's going to have options, but I think he fully intends to stay, and I know Elko fully intends to keep him. I think Elijah's going to get taken care of in the form of whatever his role is going to be, even expanding more. I haven't heard no word yet on the DC situation. He might be that. There's also going to be a raise. I've got it on pretty good authority that they value that dude more than any assistant coach I've seen at A&M. Texas A&M does, Mike Elko does, the players do. It's been a joy to watch. But he's going to, and then keep the guys from Duke that you love the most, or he probably loves all of them, but the guys that you think are going to give you the best chance to win, you keep them. If he keeps anybody else here, that's what he's going to have to determine over the next few weeks. And then go with resources that you didn't have at Duke, and with resources that probably A&M's got a little more of now that they hired him versus, say, this $10, $12 million a year guy, much less even someone like Stoops that was going to cost you, I believe, around $8. I think he had agreed to come for less money, but a lot of different incentives. It was going to essentially cost you probably $9 million a year. There's extra money to me if Elko wants to really go hire a coordinator.
Right.
Now his offensive coordinator at Duke's pretty damn good and respected. So we'll see, but he gets to build his dream staff. He's got players. He's going to have NIL at his disposal. He's got facilities. To me, the most difficult but very attainable task, because I know the type guy he is, the type leader he is, and the type of person, and what he understands is important. He'll do it, but the hardest part will be changing a culture and getting it changed really quickly. And I don't mean I think the culture got a lot better from last year to this year. I think if a coach would have come in after last season, it would have been almost in shambles. Yeah. They did a better job, but there's just certain things like that day-to-day that over 6 years, and when you're not winning enough, it happens to any coach. It's not just Jimbo. It's not because Jimbo had – I think ultimately, he didn't make it because, you're a one-guy show. And A&M made it that way. The A&M signed off on that agreement when they hired him. That was part of their pitch. And Woodward, pitched it to him. It was, you're not going to get told no on anything. You're going to get everything you need to be successful. And I think that's great, but that was almost to a fault as time went on. He essentially hired the AD in Ross Bjork. Yep. That's not a great working fit, but they let him. They said, "Yeah, sure, let's do that," because Woodward left so suddenly, and everybody was nervous. Like, okay, we got to keep Jimbo happy. That was just that. That was the whole thing. It wasn't just Jimbo. That was just the way things went. We got to keep Jimbo happy. He just lost his AD. We're a couple years into this. We can't lose him. Okay, we'll let him hire the AD. Him and Jimmy Sexton go. And so it was a disservice to Ross. It was a disservice to Jimbo. But nobody thought that at the time. Sure. It was more like football, national championship coach, going in the right direction and fast. Let's go. Let's put the pedal. They told athletics, hey, they told the coaches of every other sport, we're going all in on winning a national championship for football, and other sports had to get cut, not sports cut, but their money's cut, their finances cut, so football could make this push for a national title. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I don't think Mike Elko expects that to be the case. He's going to have more at his disposal than he ever had. They're still going to have more at their disposal than virtually any program in the country. But I just don't think it's going to be the emperor situation that A&M and Jimbo and at the time Woodward and then Ross and everybody here kind of agreed to. And I think that ultimately hurt. And I don't think it's the way it can be, and you have to learn lessons from that. And that's not who Mike Elko is. So unless they're not going to create an environment that's conducive to that, and I think knowing Elko would be actually the last thing he'd want. So this will be a unique, different look. And I think the other thing that's going to be really different, Nuño, is the structure of it all.
Right.
Like player personnel and how they handle the portal, how they handle NIL, roster management day to day, and like the infrastructure that he's going to create around that kind of stuff is going to be pretty exciting, pretty interesting. And I'll tell you this, and I will say this is going to sound bad, but it's just true. I don't think you'll see them traveling on Thursdays anymore.
Yeah.
And I think they'll hire a recruiting coordinator and a high school relations guy, which it's just still shocking to me that as we sit here today, those two positions are not filled at Texas A&M.
Set a break. We'll continue there. There's Max Johnson hitting the transfer portal. We'll talk a little bit about that. I got a lot to get into here. By the way, there's 1,300 of you watching on YouTube. Do me a favor, start liking it. We've got about 119 who have liked it. Let's get that number up closer to 500, maybe even 1,000. Let's do that right now as you're listening. Let's talk about Brian Foley Law now, criminal defense attorney. He's my guy. He's an awesome DWI attorney as well. He's been a longtime listener of this show and a big-time subscriber to TexAgs. He's a board-certified lawyer. Only 7% of attorneys in Texas are that qualified, and Brian is one of those. And if you make a mistake out there, look, there are options out there, and Brian Foley Law is the place to go. Again, when your kids go away for school and they make some dumb mistakes, and sometimes it just happens, right? Whatever it may be, vaping in the wrong time, marijuana, whatever your situation is, Brian Foley Law is there to help you. You've been arrested for DWI, a vape pen, or whatever it may be, wrong place at the wrong time. Let Brian Foley Law represent you. Again, he's a former chief prosecutor that knows the system from inside and out, criminal defense and DWI defense attorney. People can have a bad day. The next day, start by calling a criminal defense lawyer and DWI lawyer and Brian Foley. If your loved one has been arrested or charged with a crime, you're probably filled with anxiety and fear. Give Brian Foley a call and start the process to take back your life. Brian Foley Law covers Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, as well as Bryan, College Station. Call Brian Foley Law up at 936-596-0407, 936-596-0407, or brianfoleylaw.com. National Liucci, not only on SEC Shorts, a shout out there. He'll be on Paul Feinbaum today, 4:15.
Getting a shout out on SEC Shorts just made my year pretty
You've made
much.
it, my friend.
And we love those guys, but what they do, I said it before, it just, the ability to make fan bases smile after, like, they can make the Auburn fan base smile today, which is wild to think of after what that group went through on Saturday. I couldn't believe what I was watching Saturday, but what they do every week is, I mean, they're so talented, and they're just, the other part is after meeting them and stuff, they're such a likable group that you see why their stuff's so funny, because that likability comes out even when they're acting.
Got to drop it there.
What?
Yeah, that's it.
What?
That's it. We're done. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. How about A&M basketball yesterday, erasing that 21-point deficit to win their final game in Orlando at the ESPN Events Invitational? And it was the 80th victory of Buzz Williams' career at Texas A&M. He's now posted at least 80 wins at 3 different schools. Our guest on the Brian Foley Law Hotline is Buzz Williams. Buzz, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. So let's just start off. How do you guys win a game where a couple starters are out? You're down 21, double-digit turnovers. Wade struggled to shoot a little bit, but you had the grit, especially at the end of the first half, and the way you all finished.
Yeah, I just think that it speaks to our guys. And like I mentioned yesterday in postgame, I think they're a reflection of the people that raised them. I think that a lot transpired. Obviously, we were the first game of the tournament. We were the last game of the tournament. We got there on Tuesday. 6 days is a long time to be in one hotel. And I thought all of the things that transpired, the good things and the bad things, I thought the response of our group collectively was very, very good, considering it's the third week of the season. I thought there were multiple guys yesterday who were the best they had ever been. And those guys all had to be the best they could be in order for us to have a chance to do what transpired. And I don't think that we were great in a lot of respects, but I think in some ways what transpired the last 24 minutes of the game was, in the end, what we have to be about. It's for sure not always the funnest or the prettiest, but I think the identity and the roots and the foundation of what we have to be about at Texas A&M basketball, I think that was on display by everyone that played the last 25 minutes.
Buzz, that was First of all, that was a fun weekend to watch. All three games, actually. You're welcome.
Did you watch them, Liucci, or you were busy doing other things?
I actually watched, but I was also busy. So luckily, the timing.
So you watched it. It was on mute.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of stretches where I muted it because I was like, "This is." I like Florida Atlantic. I'd mute it and look up. And, okay, here we go. No, it was a blast, man. And this is a fun team.
Thank you.
We're not surprised by it, but this is already a fun team to root for and watch. But things like what I saw yesterday, I always say, like, those are the moments to me that teams like endear themselves to fan bases, and especially, I don't know why, but just a place like A&M. It's why I think what you're doing over there culturally is such a fit. But you've been instilling this in these guys for years now, and I know you know what to expect out of your players is the fight we saw. But you as the head coach, Buzz, when you watch your team, you're coaching, you're in the moment. But when you sit back and say, man, we just came back from 21 down with that, does that hit you a little differently and say, man, every lesson that we're teaching these guys, they're absorbing them and they're putting them into practice on the court? And I don't know, it just feels like as the head guy, you had to feel a different kind of way maybe coming home last night with the way that how the resiliency they showed there.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking time to be so nice. I sincerely appreciate those words. I think what I've tried to do, Liucci, the older I've gotten, is how can I give more, and how can I care more to those that I'm charged to lead, and how can I care less about those that only have opinions.
Yeah.
Different things hit my heart at different times, and I'm trying to be mature in how I discern things. And when we lost on Friday, I think Florida Atlantic, obviously they went to the Final Four last year, and they will have a chance to go to the Final Four this year. And I would love at some point to be able to coach a team to the Final Four. So I'm not taking anything away from Florida Atlantic, but I looked at my phone and some of the things that I saw in there, I was just like, I have to stop looking at this.
Yeah.
And so I quit. I just stopped. That literally, at whatever time that was, East Coast time, 1:20 on Friday, I haven't hit any social media because I think sometimes just human nature, I want to care about the opinion of others too much, and it takes my focus and my heart away from who I need to care the most about. And so I told Thor this last night, and I told my wife this. Those are the only people I told. I
I think it was the biggest win since we've lived here
Yeah.
because of all the things that you said. I don't like talking about myself, and I don't like making the interview about me because I'm not doing anything. It's the people that are doing all of the work. And so I was very gratified and very thankful for the opportunity to be around these guys. And I don't want to go so fast that I don't realize how special the group is, specific to the young adults. I don't want to forget how special the group is as far as the old adults. There's 93 years of experience on my staff, wherever we have been together. That's more than any Division I team in the country.
Really?
And I think that that's really cool for somebody that was and is a junior college manager that's never had an agent, that's never participated in search firms, like just the old ham and egg. I have a diner short order cook sort of way. So I felt, I did feel like, yeah, the things that we're doing, I think will always matter in their life. And I think as they become husbands and as they become fathers, I hope that this experience makes them better in that regard. And you don't ever know what the results are going to do during a season. But I think when you're down 21 with 2.5 minutes to play, the competitive chemistry and charisma and synergy and maturity that we played with on the way to being down 21 was literally the same maturity we played with to outscore them 25 points from that point forward. There was a calmness about our fight. There was a calmness about how we went about our work. There was great strategy adjustments by the staff. The players received that coaching. Like, all of those things are so important when you're in that sort of position. There's a big difference in going to a tournament and you're the last game and both teams are 1-1 and they're clawing and scrapping for a possession. And yeah, I just think all of the things that transpired because of the position that we were in, I just think it speaks on so many levels to so many categories of the people of our program and what our program is built on.
Well, as I sit here and picture you as a short order cook wiping your forehead with your sleeve, I know you'd probably sling a mean hash.
I can do it, and I can make grits too.
Well,
and the name of the restaurant is going to be called Sissy's, and it's going to be in a strip shopping center. And on the other end of the strip shopping center, there's going to be a weight room, and it's going to be called Buzz's Barbells. And I'm going to have an office in there so you can stop by and see me. If you want to go to breakfast, we'll go to the other end of the strip shopping center.
Okay, I'll invest in that. You've got at least one investor. You're talking about my little 1 in 100 theory is what you're talking about, by the way, with that social media. And I should publish this or something. I go to those boards on TexAgs, and there'll be 100 positive replies for something I say or report or write. And if there's one negative, I'm going to zoom in on that negative one and reply to it. And it shouldn't be that way.
It's just human nature.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way.
It's just human nature. And, my wife was saying not yesterday, the day we didn't play, she goes, do you know Billy Liucci? L-I? And I go, yeah, I know Billy Liucci. And she goes, well, he's all over the internet. And I go, sweetheart, you've seen Billy before. Like, he was Billy when I was here as an assistant. Like, I've known him since I was 30. And she goes, really? And she goes, are you nice to him? And I go, yeah, I'm real nice to him. I'm nice to him. I said, but sweetheart, I don't really participate in all of what he does. Like, I want to stay away from it. All that stuff gets in my head.
Which part of that?
I just stay away from it. And she goes, oh, he has the long hair and wears a hat. And I go, yeah, that's Liucci. Yes, that's Liucci. I think she had you confused with Logan for some reason.
Oh, God.
I'm like, no, Logan played for us here.
Yeah. I probably could have scored as many points as Logan did for y'all.
Hey, I'm telling you, before Logan hurt his back, I was recruiting Logan like he was the number one point guard ever when I was at Colorado State.
Out of Hawaii or high school?
Yeah. Yeah, he hurt it when he was at Hawaii.
Yep.
So hurt before he came here, and then it got hurt again when he was here. But, like, I was recruiting him before he went to junior college. Before he went to Hawaii, before he went to junior college. Logan was a tough, mean dude now.
He is.
And
He's really tough.
To make a shot. Yeah.
Katie's tamed him a little bit, but he hey, Buzz.
No, he's not as tough as she is.
No.
I'm not saying that.
No
he's
way.
For sure not as tough as she is.
Hey, but speaking of tough, Solomon Washington, that game he had, we can't go without talking about that performance, the 3-pointers, the rebounding, the points when you guys really needed points. You talk about this was like perhaps the best, most rewarding game you guys have played, most important, whatever adjective you want to put on it. What about for him individually, still a young player, to step up? He stepped up before, but to step up in the absence of some guys the way he did in a game where you guys were down and to walk out of there a winner, what does that mean for a young player?
Yeah, he's in his 3rd week of his 2nd year, and I have raved about Solo since he got here. I have loved and adored him and his family since the first time I met him when we were recruiting him. It's the most unique recruiting story of all time, and he is incredibly intelligent, like through the roof intelligent. Not just on the court. I'm specifically talking about off the court, and he betrays all stereotypes. Like, he is unbelievably smart, unbelievably well spoken, but he hides that because he's not had the opportunities to have those reps. But I have had a really good relationship with him since the first day I met him at Carver High School. And I have probably tried to invest in him in other ways other than ball more than any freshman in a long time. And I think that his IQ, along with his growth and development as a person, combined with his work ethic and what we do on a daily basis, I thought it was on full display last night. I mean, the things that he was doing relative to toughness, being in the fight for every single rebound, switching every screen and guarding every player on their team. Obviously, making those threes were huge. He had made 1 3 going into last night's game. He made play after play after play. But the one thing that I would say, and I mentioned this to him as we were walking off the court, I know you played great, but I think a part of the reason why you played great was your emotional IQ continues to grow. You never got sidetracked by the opponent. You never got sidetracked by the officials. And emotionally, you were engaged in the possession that you were in. Your talent is more than good enough. I mean, he's Louisiana Player of the Year. You're more than good enough. We've just got to continue to help you grow and mature emotionally, because when we get that going, you're going to have games like this on a much more consistent basis. I thought the effort that he and Andy and Jace and H, I mean, I thought they competed their guts out. I thought Eli played really important minutes, had 3 defensive rebounds against a team that is a really good rebounding team. I thought Mo played some good minutes for us, and Wilden's had the best game, arguably, that he's had at this level for sure since he's had here. I thought he changed the game.
Buzz, let's close out with this. No rest, Virginia on Wednesday. Just your thoughts on that matchup.
Well, obviously, we've played them 10 times, so I probably don't have to watch any film, but I've done nothing so far. We got home at 2:45. I was in here this morning at 5:30 reading and writing and trying to close down the weekend. I just finished training, and my first meeting is at 10:15 to start prep on UVA. Coach Bennett he's one of the few coaches that will be inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame before his career is over. He is otherworldly as a coach. What he's done at UVA, what he did at Washington State. We beat them one time at UVA when they were the number one team in the country on a buzzer beater. It's an incredible environment, superior ambiance, great facility, and it's like getting a root canal. It will be the slowest game we play all year. Incredibly, the value of every possession is monumental. Nobody will watch the game on TV because it is not going to be fun to watch, because it is really hard to play against them, and it's even more difficult to win at their place. We leave in 28 hours, so we've got a lot of work to do to have a chance to beat it. It's another, obviously, they're I don't know what they'll be today, but they're a top 20 team in the country.
That is Buzz Williams on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Buzz, we appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Okay, have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Buzz.
Thank you. Thanks for your nice words, Billy.
Yeah, that was awesome. I've enjoyed it.
All right, bam, he's gone.
He's
All right.
great. It's always fun.
We got some stuff to get into in the next segment. I'm going to tell you about it during the break, and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah,
like an ambush.
No, it's not. Not SEC Mike. I need to get him on the show this week, too.
Yeah, add him to the list.
Yeah, I'll add him to the list.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's talk right now about Costa Vida. Maybe that's we can have a little meeting there. Go to Costa Vida, a little breakfast tacos in the morning. They serve them until 10:30 a.m. They're delicious. You can get the coffee while you're there as well. It's just
got breakfast tacos from Costa Vida right now.
Is that what was out there?
Yeah. Holly texted me this morning. I'd love to take credit that I brought the whole office breakfast, and technically I did because I went and picked it up and carried them in, but there's a bunch of them.
Can I get one right now?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, there you go. This is my commercial. I'm going to go eat a breakfast taco at the break.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm breaking that diet for that awesome breakfast taco, I should say. They have other amazing meals, too. If you go for lunch or for dinner, whatever you want, I'm telling you, you're going to love the experience when you go to Costa Vida. A couple of the options. You got burritos, salad, enchiladas, tacos, quesadillas, bajo bowls, nacho, you name it. Place to go, open for dine-in, drive-through, curbside takeaway, delivery with DoorDash. Really good stuff. Go say hi to Holly when you go out there. 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. Aggie owned and operated. Go say hi to Holly. 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Over the weekend, Max Johnson announced he was heading into the portal. It obviously didn't go as the way he wanted it to go, but that dude was a freaking warrior. The way he took on hits and he played, and I would have loved to see him stick around, but I get it. He's going to go somewhere he thinks he can play. Obviously, I believe that news came out before we knew Elko was going to be the head coach, but with Connor here, and the way Jalen Henderson played, it was going to be a crowded quarterback room for him, and he'll try to go start somewhere else. Billy,
we're doing this thing on social media when they post us talking. It's like the most extreme zoom in.
Oh, that's because they want the vertical look
that mankind has ever known.
Yeah, it gets real close.
Can we not do a vertical look where it's vertical, but it's like.
Did you see it on Twitter or on
like
or
can you get like the shoulders and like at least a little of the torso?
Just
it's just a face. It's like, here's your face. Let's zoom in. I mean, come on now. I don't know. Maybe there might be a reason. We're going to go find out about it though, because
I'm sure there's a reason.
I mean, gosh, the further away the better in when it comes to on camera, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Well, this
go ahead, Nuño. What kind of little antics and games did you have planned here?
I just brought it up. Thanks for listening. Max Johnson going into the portal.
I thought you said I'd heard that part.
The other part we're not going to talk about. We discussed that too.
Max going into the portal. Good for him. By the way, not necessarily saying Max, but any player that enters the portal, I'm not saying it's going to be commonplace, but I will make a prediction right now, and I'm not talking about Max per se, but there will be an A&M player that enters the portal that remains at A&M.
Yep.
And I don't have anybody specific in mind, but I'm just saying, we're in this mindset right now. If they go into the portal, the Aggies, then they're no longer Aggies. They're done. It's going to happen where some of these kids go. And unfortunately, in 2023, and this is going to happen everywhere, this year more than ever, and actually Elko mentioned it the other day at Duke, about what's about to come when this portal opens. You're going to have kids at schools, and this sucks. It's the way it is. It sucks as a fan. It sucks for for coaches. It's going to be harder to keep team chemistry because you're going to have guys that go and they're going to go in the portal to get bids. They're going to go in the portal to see how much school X, Y, and Z are going to offer them, and then they're going to come back to A&M or Texas or LSU or Alabama, and they're going to say, "Hey, coach, I know what my NIL deal is here, but I can get this much over there." And some of those guys are going to, for lack of a better word, they're going to get raises to stay at Georgia, at Clemson, at Ohio State, at A&M. And then some of them, as a head coach, you got to have the stones and you got to have the help, because you got to have your team of decision makers and people that study and follow this stuff to say, "Coach, Nuño ain't worth that. You got to let him walk."
Could use another example.
Okay. Luke is not worth that. We got to let him go.
Jared.
I said, "Luke." I know that's Jared.
Oh.
Why'd you look over there?
Because your eyes went that way.
No, I was thinking of a different Luke. Oh. Bronny is definitely not worth that.
There we go.
You know what? Zane, we can't lose. We got to keep him. I know I'm going complete opposite here. We got to keep him. We got to pay. So, and that does not need to be just the head coach's decision. He's got to have people he trusts that can tell him, show him numbers, say, "Hey, this linebacker, we like him, but he's not worth $200,000 because we can get you this guy and that guy on our defense for $250 and be a better football team tomorrow." So it's going to be interesting because some players are going to go in, they're going to overplay their hand, and they're going to end up at a place that they don't like as much as where they're at, and they're not going to make the money they've been promised or lied to about, because that's going to happen as well. So it's going to be a weird world, not just in Aggieland, but everywhere. But so my point is, let's get out of this mindset that when a kid's in the portal, he's gone. As far as Max Johnson goes, I'd have a hard time seeing him come back just because of the position and how old he is. So I say good for him. I don't mean that in a flippant way. Like, good for Max. Max gave everything he had here for a couple of years. He started and won some meaningful games for Texas A&M. He gave up his body more than once. He was, playing with broken ribs in that Ole Miss game. I think he would have loved nothing more than to have been out there Saturday against LSU. I was kind of looking forward down the stretch to seeing that. And, he lost his starting job twice in his career and didn't put his head down, didn't pout, sat there. I think he was put in some bad positions in terms of protection and play call. Now you're seeing like what they're doing with Jalen Henderson, who's also shown a hell of a lot of guts and resilience, but he's getting rid of the ball quicker, and Petrino's dialing that up. It's helping him. It's helping the receivers. I don't think Max was necessarily put in those positions last couple of years. He'll go somewhere. I think he'll do well. And again, like, I think that dude represented himself with class on the field, off, wildly popular in the locker room. I wish he'd stay, but I don't think he should. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish he'd stay. I understand why
you
he's
understand
not.
the business.
And I hope he finds a place that fits him. I'd love to see him go to another big-time spot. I'd love to see him go somewhere where the job is his, no questions asked, where he is going to be the best quarterback on that roster the day he steps foot on campus and can start a year or two and really see what he can do.
Along the same lines, guys considering the NFL, there's going to be some guys are no-brainers. You go, right? Like, I think McKinley Jackson is one of those names I can see, if he's going to get a first, second, third round pick, you consider that. Some other guys might be worth a conversation. Like, look.
Well, I heard y'all this morning kind of dismiss one where I'm like, I could see him going for sure, but it's not, in no way is it a dismiss like, hey, Shamar Turner's going to the NFL.
Right.
And I could certainly see him doing it, but that one is like one of those guys that falls into, that's a real discussion to be had, because I don't believe in any world that he's going to be a first, second rounder, and he was playing like it early in the year and then it quieted down some. I think he could absolutely thrive. And you think about Elko's defense and what it did for that big physical end like DeMarvin Leal, who had, an incredible junior season here. Was his junior season or sophomore season? It was an incredible year. But he could certainly fit in this system and be an absolute, complete, and total game changer this year coming up, much like Edgerrin Cooper was this season. So he's one that I also heard you guys talking about, and I agree. Like, it's just hard to imagine a world that he doesn't make the leap this year. Now, if anything could do that, it would be coming back, playing for Elko, the guy that recruited him and this and that. But it certainly seemed like it just all came together for Edge this year, and he can parlay that into a lot of money. We'll see what the draft grades say about him. He's going to test really, really well. He's going to run so well here, and the way he played this year, he deserves it, what he meant to this football team. But there's other guys. Anias has played so much. It's hard to imagine any pitch that could keep him, but it is the world of NIL, so who knows? But there's others, who else are we talking about? That Tyreek Chappelle, I think Chappelle and Shamar Turner and Fadil Diggs are three really significant ones on defense.
Yeah.
If you're looking on that side of the ball, I think those three guys are actually really big ones defensively. Because think about those three coming back. And then you probably got those are two of your starters on the D-line. That's a starting corner. And they're all higher end SEC players that have a chance to be exceptional SEC players. So those three stand out on defense. Offensively, to me, I'm trying to think of like guys turning pro. I mean, do you revisit like a Bryce Foster? I mean, I don't think he was at a level this year that he should go pro. I think he's more of, keeping. There's a whole nother conversation, guys that you need to keep from going portal.
Right.
And on offense, at the top of that list, obviously, it's obviously Connor Wigman, because I think if you're a new coach and you come in here and you have him and you can have your pick of OCs, whether he goes with bringing Johns over or if you know any of that stuff, that's a massive deal right there to have 15 leading the charge in year one of a new offense.
Yeah, I think you have 15 leading the charge. People stay.
Absolutely. That carries a hell of a lot of weight. I think a lot of kids are going to want to stay anyway. I think that's one of the real benefits of this hire.
All right, so to break, we'll come back with some more here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They've got great deals on their website. If you go there when you're looking for a vehicle, you're going to see a great selection of vehicles, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And you get a kind of a feel for the pricing that they have right now. And they're updating it all the time. They're getting new cars all the time. So a great place to go start your search. Then you go on the lot, and you're going to be blown away by the customer service experience. There's no doubt about that. The good people and the good pricing and the great trade-in value. You put those three things together, you're going to have yourself a great situation when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Simply call, click, or stop by Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It's about a 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to the very edge of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you're going to see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Is he saying I need a guy like Yo? You're not listening to the song. It's a famous 80s song that I'm sure saw.
What's the song?
Yeah, turn it up a little bit, guys. If you don't, you have your headphones? You don't even have it. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
What is it?
What's the name of the song? Like Yo. Like a guy named Yo.
Nobody says that, but what is it?
Well, that's why I want somebody to tell me who the song.
I need a girl like you.
Yes.
First of all, it's a girl.
Not
I
a
don't
guy
know.
like you.
Maybe it's a guy like you. It's a girl like you. Meet a girl like you. It's Iran. I ran so far. I couldn't get away. You know the band even?
No. I know the
Come
song.
on, man. Flock of Seagulls.
The Flock of Seagulls.
How do you not know that?
Because
have you ever heard of a song called like 8675309?
309?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Great song. I've called that number.
Have you ever heard of Aha?
No. Oh, yeah. That's a jam.
Talking away.
That's a jam.
I don't know.
That's the Flock of
what
Pelicans?
to say. It's Aha.
The band is Aha or the song is Aha?
You're everything I've got to. Yes. Aha. It's the band.
Oh, I thought you said they were the Flock of Seagulls.
Flock of Seagulls saying I ran.
They're not the same people?
This is not a Larry David skit. It's not Seinfeld. We've evolved.
I did not know. Facts. I know the song. Just like if we play some of my music, you would be like, oh, I know that song. Don't know who Daddy Yankee is. Not familiar with Willie D. I know you are.
Willie D, yeah.
Yeah, good guy.
Doesn't he live in Siena?
I think he does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good quality people.
Does Scarface live there?
They might be.
I think Willie D. I think they had a falling out though. Willie D.
Brad Jordan? You don't know who Brad Jordan is?
No.
Scarface.
Oh, that's.
See, I'm on a
name.
first name basis with the rappers.
I'm
know
sure
Flock
you
of
are.
Seagulls.
I'm sure you are.
Me and
Went
Scarface
to high
are
school
tight.
or junior high or high school with Lil O.
Who?
See.
Little O?
Don't act. I mean, if you don't know Lil O,
I don't know
turn
Lil
in
O.
your Houston card.
Good. I'm
Turn
not a
it in.
Houston rapper guy. I don't listen to Little
Ori Lawson, turn in your card.
Okay.
Older
card
brother's
turned in.
Funby, one
Yeah.
of my good friends in junior high.
I'm sure he's great.
They didn't go to Kempner. They ended up going to Clements. Probably, well, Rahil's too young. Maybe.
Rahil's 10
Rahil's
years
too
younger
young.
than me.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He looks older.
Paperboy? Did he?
Rahil looks older.
He does,
He
doesn't
looks. He looks.
That's
your
because he's
age.
got the beard.
He looks 10 years older.
I've just aged myself 10 years with this beard that's going away probably tomorrow. We'll see. Anyway, can we spend a few minutes on the game?
We might.
We might?
Oh, the LSU game.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of times I like to just close that
chapter
page and move on, especially when there's a coaching change. Now it's like that game didn't even happen, but it did. And I said yesterday I was impressed with the effort. I was really impressed with the way they came out and played early. But just there were some things that just like all year have haunted this team, like some missed opportunity, massive missed opportunity early. Key moment where another player on another team made that pivotal play, and for them it was a Heisman, potential Heisman winner. I think it's getting to the point now it's like him or Bo Nix, but where Jaden Daniels on 4th and 5 or whatever it was, 4th and 4, 4th and 5, they were down at the time. Were they down 3? I think they were down. I think at that point it was 24-21, I believe. And if you don't get that, A&M's got the ball near midfield with a chance to go up. 10 as that game's getting late. And they go for it, and he runs all the way down to the 5-yard, like an incredible. Wasn't even that incredible. It's just like he avoided the initial wave. They weren't able to contain him, and then he just took off, and it was, almost to the house. But that was like that. We saw that all year, like this key pivotal moment, and then, boom, there's a play. Typically happened against an A&M defense that was really good. Missed opportunity for the offense early. We had a missed field goal, which even though it would have only put A&M up 6 and not more than a touchdown, and maybe LSU goes down, it felt like a pivotal point right there. It felt like momentum shifted on that missed field goal. And then you had, as that fourth quarter went on, a secondary that just couldn't match up on the perimeter with superior athletic receivers. Just couldn't do it. And you look, and I look at it, and there's a world where Miles Jones wasn't playing at Duke this year and playing at all ACC level. He's in maroon and white.
Mm-hmm.
There's a world where Jalen Jones is here still at corner at 6'3". And you wonder about games against Alabama and Burton, and you wonder about Miami and what Restrepo and that other dude did. You wonder about Ole Miss and how you could have fared. Against Trey Harris
yep.
going for 200+ yards. You wonder about Saturday against Malik Neighbors and against Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Like, they just couldn't match up with those type and that level of receiver. And that's something, that I think Elko's going to get here and realize right away, like, gosh, we got to upgrade that position through the portal and through recruiting. So obviously Terry Bussey's a massive guy sitting there, still on the commit list, and everyone's going to come after him. But with Elko coming in and you keep Elijah, I think you'll have a great chance to keep Bussey. But my God, they need guys like that. And they need them fast. They need them immediately. It really hurt the Aggies this season in those games. And look, I don't think it's a coincidence either that you didn't have Tyreek Chappelle against Ole Miss. You didn't have Tyreek Chappelle late in that game when they started doing what they were doing. I look up on one play, and Bravion Rogers is covering the best receiver in the country, who's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL, and you got a true freshman from LaGrange that is exceptionally athletic and talented, but he has played almost zero meaningful ball, and you're in the fourth quarter against LSU, and he's trying to cover him. You see McCall out there, good coverage. They're making catches over him. Same thing happened to him at Ole Miss. That dude's shown me a little something in the position he's been in when he's getting beat on plays. You just got to get a little better at finding the football. But, I mean, these guys are so inexperienced and so young. It's a mismatch at times out there. And so a lot of the same things that were getting A&M all year eventually got them in this football game. And I think LSU did a nice job of adjusting to what A&M was doing offensively, and they were making Henderson kind of feel that. He started to feel that pass rush, and I think it led to him kind of taking his eyes off the, down the field and being able to make some of the throws he made early. But that dude's gutsy. Kids play hard around him. He plays hard. I like what he brings to the table at quarterback. I really do.
Yeah. I really liked – I know the numbers weren't spectacular, but I really liked what we got from the running backs. And the game plan that they went into this game to keep it a short game, limit as many possessions overall. LSU still ended up getting their 42, and that number for a while didn't feel like they would. For a while, it was 21 points entering the fourth quarter, and then of course they doubled it, and it just spiraled out of control.
Absolutely.
But the game plan was solid, man. It was really solid.
Yeah, it was. I thought. Again, Moss and Owens were running well. I thought they got away from that on a couple of key drives. And I understand, when you get to 2nd and 10, and then you have a harder decision, gosh, are we going to try to run it here? But there were some times where I would have loved to have seen them run on first down a little more. But, yeah, they're showing Moss and Max Wright, and congrats to Max. Dude's played his heart out. How about Mark Naboo's stat line?
Look at that.
And you know what? That's awesome for Naboo and any O-lineman, but also that's awesome for Elijah and them to call that play. You think of things like the uniform thing. You think of things like some of the things I've told y'all that they were doing at practice. You think about getting one of your big O-linemen the football on the goal line. I mean, these are just little things that are big things. The all 12th man team obviously stands out at the top of that list, but I hope people don't underestimate what Elijah did in these 3 weeks, and he's going to coach the bowl game as well, but what he's done as this interim head coach and what it's going to mean to him later on. I think Elijah stays. I don't think he goes and gets a head job that's worth him leaving yet for this year. Like he's going to make, I don't know, I'm making up a number. Don't quote me on it, but I bet he'll be making $1.5 million or so to not be a head coach this year. There's some head coaching jobs that would pay less than that around college football. So I think he can sit and be patient. Again, TBD on the DC thing, just because I haven't heard one way or the other on that. But whether that's making the jump up to be a DC at a big-time program, whether it's here or somewhere else down the road soon, he's a future head coach. And I think these 4 games are going to prove just absolutely invaluable to him moving forward. Just being able to sit there and do these interviews, to be able to go into a post-game press conference, to be able to coach all week and try to get a team ready to play, and pregame speeches and post-game after wins and losses and game management and stuff like that. I mean, this is literally on-the-job training for him. I watched Dan Campbell do that. You know, Dan Campbell was the interim head coach of the Dolphins for 12 games. Yeah. You know, because they beat the brakes off of you when you went down there with the Texans, and they sent you packing, crying. I sound like Dan now. They took your lunch money down there in South Beach.
I don't think I was covering the Texans. That was 06, right?
I don't think it was that long. No,
well,
hell
10.
no.
When was it?
Hell no. He was here.
What year
maybe
was that?
10. He was here when Sherman.
It's 10.
No.
No?
No way. No way. It was later than that. I think you were covering.
Was I?
They went down there, and it was the first game, I think. His first couple games, he beat the hell out of the Patriots and Texans, and that was when the Texans were pretty good, I think. But they ended up going 6-6, I believe, in
2010.
Games. Yeah, 2010. Okay. You said 6, so you got it second time.
And then I fixed it.
You made this face, though, like you had nailed it, and then...
Because I was trying to remember where I was in life. Okay. I was at 1560.
Okay, so you had to talk about it.
No, I covered it, but I didn't travel with the team. Yes.
Granado wouldn't spend on you and Raheel like that?
No.
You're saying Granado didn't fund as lavish a lifestyle for his employees as I do?
I think Granado...
I just want that on record, Granado. He wasn't as much a man of the people as I.
We'll see if it continues.
It should.
Well, I stayed around the last couple games. Anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
You didn't travel, and it went pretty well for us.
We lost.
Sure.
We've lost 10 in a row.
Maybe we should keep you home. Maybe we should keep Olin home. What does he do? He just fires off questions in the presser post-game. The thing's going to go on. Things going to go on without him.
Yeah. Let's hit a break here because
we're on to something. Olin's not traveling anymore.
Done. Sorry,
money
Olin,
saved.
Don't blame me.
Olin will give a portion of that to you as a Christmas bonus.
Oh, he'd like that.
It's pennies on the dollar.
Oh.
I mean, that like every dollar that I don't spend on OB going to a game gets spread around
to the company.
Yeah, so he'll get like a few cents of that.
That's fine. It's a little bit of everything. All right, we'll come back with a short final segment. It's TexAgs Radio. Full moon. Hey,
yeah.
You want to make fun of me about something?
No, I just you got fact checked.
On what? 2010?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Wait, I'm looking at it. It says he was the interim coach in 2010. So who fact checked me? Oh, I guess he did it twice.
Oh, really?
With the Dolphins. 2015 interim head coach and 2010 interim head coach.
He was an interim head coach
according to Wikipedia.
I don't.
That's the one I remember. Didn't he take over for Bill Parcells? Am I wrong about the year?
I don't remember the 20. How many games did it say he did in 20?
Just says interim head coach.
Okay, let's take some question. But 2015 makes more sense in terms of when he did it for like 12 games.
Campbell began his coaching career with the Dolphins as a coaching intern. Campbell was promoted to tight ends coach following the Dolphins head coach Joe Philbin on 2015 after a 1-3 start. Campbell was named the interim head coach for the remainder of the 2015 season. So 2 times as an interim head coach.
I never heard you say anything about interim in 2010.
In 2010, Campbell was coaching hired by the Dolphins as coaching intern, not interim.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, interim.
All right, let's
intern.
continue. Let's continue.
That was terrible.
I was like,
interim.
I was sitting there going like,
what are you talking about?
But
that's for my guy. You're the rage monster, your buddy. That was for him. Hopefully he understood that.
Go ahead,
Jared. Read us something.
You got one from Tanner Travis on the YouTube page just saying Elko is probably the best hire to keep this roster together.
I think that
outside of Elijah, right?
Elijah and Elko, both. Yeah. I mean, I think either one, but you should have both, which to me, that's the best of both worlds, and that tandem would be outstanding in keeping this roster together, but also adding to it.
Yeah,
it's not the perfect roster. It is an incredibly talented roster. If you keep it together, you could have an outstanding first year in terms of talent and what's on the football field, but there are some areas you're going to want to add to and improve. There are some spots, and we mentioned in the secondary. I think, you either try to develop an edge pass rusher, like a pure, flashy, twitchy 10, 11 sack guy, or you go find one if you can. I think Torian York is Elko's going to freaking love him. But if Edge goes pro as we expect, you probably have to go find, there's some good young linebackers, Chance Johnson, Damian Sanford, but I still think you want to go. That might be a spot to portal. So there's areas where you can certainly upgrade your talent level.
Billy, thank you very much.
All right.
Looking forward to the presser later on today. We'll have all the coverage on TexAgs.com. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Monday. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you mañana.